Ultimately, it is a circumstance, and you got to try to best prepare your body to go out there and handle the elements.
The other thing the Packers will have to deal with, the Broncos defense, which is one of the best in the league. Here's more from Coach Matt LaFleur.
They got a lot of great players, and they put them in great position, and they go out there and they play. I think there's a lot of similarities when I look at our defense in regards to the style of play, how hard they play, how hard they finish and tackle, and so it's going to be a great test for us.
Kickoff from Denver on Sunday will be at 3:25. Turning to Wisconsin football, they will have a different offensive line coach for the 5th time in 6 seasons, as Luke Fickell has reportedly fired A.J. Blazek after 2 years and will replace him with former Arkansas offensive lineman Eric Mateos. Under Mateos, Arkansas had one of the best rush offenses in the country.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Wisconsin basketball would give up the most points this season, losing to Nebraska last night in Lincoln 90-60. And finally, the Milwaukee Bucks are looking to snap a 2-game losing streak as they host the Celtics at the Pfizer Forum tonight. Tip-off, that's coming at 7 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
That last possession right there, the block to seal it. Nebraska with a 30-point drubbing of the Wisconsin Badgers tonight here in Lincoln in their conference opener.
We don't have a defensive identity. Haven't had one all year. So we'll search to find one, and I'll find guys that want to play defense. Sit guys on the bench.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Some audio from last night. That's the final play. Wisconsin losing by 30 in Lincoln. A tough place to play. Nebraska's ranked. I wasn't about to lose my mind over the Badgers losing this game, but losing by 30 and looking like they did for long stretches, that's noteworthy. So that's where I want to begin tonight. We don't have to stay there long, but I think that's the number one item over the last 24 hours since we've last chatted. So we'll start with the Badgers. And it's a little difficult to make out, but Greg Gard saying there, we don't have a defensive identity. We haven't had one all year. And the follow-up question, which is a little tough to hear in the intro, is, okay, well, how do you find guys, or what do you do to find a defensive identity? And Greg Gard very bluntly saying, you sit guys on the bench.
Sit guys on the bench.
Which reminds me of that clip of AJ Storr that was making the rounds last week, maybe a week before that, but within the last week or two, when AJ Storr was getting questioned at the podium, and I think is he at Ole Miss now? I can't keep track. And was basically asked about effort and taking plays off and, how do you combat that? And he basically said, well, there's not much you can do. And then the coach interrupts and said, play different guys. When a coach is really frustrated with the performance, then they'll just talk openly about sitting guys down. And I'm glad that still exists in college sports. I'm glad we still have that.
Sit guys on the bench.
Sit guys on the bench. Exactly. So that's where we will begin with Badgers basketball. I want to talk just a little bit about some different news and notes around college football and around the NFL. The Michigan story that's broken in the last really 24 hours. I think the news of Sharon Moore's firing broke at like 3:45 yesterday, right before we went on the air. In fact, I normally go to the bathroom at like 3:55 or whatever, right before the show starts. And I think I was at the urinal and I saw it and I went, oh! And I put my phone away and thought like, wow, Michigan, some high standards. I mean, that's an expensive roster, expensive quarterback. They lost to Ohio State. They're not in the playoff, pretty nuts to me. But then again, that's what it's like at Michigan or Ohio State or LSU, when you're not producing with that amount of investment. And then, of course, we learn that there's more to the story. I do have a thought on that situation that's mostly disconnected from all the human drama. That part, it's a huge part of the story, but not really one that needs to live on sports TV or sports. It's certainly not a Wisconsin sports show. So we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Mike Clemens going to be here in hour number 2, and just some different Packers and NFL headlines that we can pick at and bounce kind of to and fro over the next 2 hours. But your phone calls welcome throughout. As always, 608-321 1670, and you can comment on the live stream. The Wisco Sports Zone app is baller. I would highly recommend, because you can listen to all of our shows live, and you can switch between some of our stations. So you can catch Dan Casper in the morning and then switch over to Ebo at 9, or you can go back and forth. You can listen to KTY, WAYY, WOZN, and you watch all the shows live, their live streams, but also go back to find the podcast or the live stream after the fact, and you can comment and be a part of the show on that back end as well. I did not stay up to the end of the game last night, and it wasn't close, so whatever. Like, I sometimes when a team's getting blown out, if the Packers are getting blown out, I'll watch, but if the Bucks are getting blown out, I'm probably not going to watch, you guys. Or if the Badgers are getting blown out, I'm probably not going to watch. When the Brewers are getting blown out, there's something very cathartic about that. It gives me something to hate. So if the Brewers are getting, I might turn the volume up. I might lean in more if the Brewers are, getting, pile drived by whoever, the Marlins or whoever. Like, I weirdly take a twisted sense of satisfaction in that. So I'll lean in. But last night I went to bed, mostly because I did 8 hours of live radio yesterday. Wednesdays are a long day between Bill's show, my show, and then the huddle. And I got home and I was an old man. I laid in my bed for about a half hour and I read a little bit, and I was just ready to go down. But the specific moment that did it for me, following along with this game, is when I saw our friend Michael McCleary, who covers Badgers basketball for Badgers Extra and for the State Journal. I saw him tweet this, and I said, okay, I'm going to bed and I'm not going to feel bad about it. He tweeted, Badgers trail 84-51 with 6:46 left. They gave up a long time ago. And that seems like a fairly innocuous tweet. Anyone watching the game would have drawn the same conclusion, but you don't read embedded beat reporters, or you don't read people affiliated with the team writing things like that. I'll say stuff like that all the time. You will say stuff like that all the time. You'll watch your team and think, oh, they gave up. They're out to lunch. They've mailed it in. Because we're fans and we can do that. Reporters almost never do that, because for the most part, guys don't give up. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it happens. But when you hear an embedded, credentialed beat reporter say, they gave up a long time ago, like, you can circle that. You can underline that. And I'm not trying to put Mike McCleary on blast. He was right. The fact that he said it only drives home how bad last night was. And I know that the comment in the intro was Greg Gard talking about their lack of a defensive identity.
Sit guys on the bench.
I think, and the subsequent move would then be to sit guys on the bench.
Sit guys on the bench.
Thank you one more time. I think it's more than that. A complete and total lack of a defensive identity is bad. I'm not going to act like that's no big deal. Defensive struggles or mishaps or miscommunications or defensive kinks, in December don't really freak me out that much in this current era of college basketball, because half of these guys just got here. Bilauskis just got here. Boyd just got here. Rapp, on down the list, right? Other than Blackwell and Janicki and who's the other cat? Nolan Winter, like Braden Carrington just got here. A lot of these guys just got here. And this is an offensive-driven program now. That part is going to be the thing that clicks first. And we saw this last year. The offense clicked right away last year. And I think we've seen so far this year, the offense has clicked right away. The defense can take a little bit longer. I don't doubt that at some point they'll find a defensive identity this season. I think there's too much talent and the program is too well coached. Like, I just believe in the operation. They're not going to be an embarrassingly bad defensive team all year long.
Sit guys on the bench.
Well, I mean, maybe like they'll figure it out to a certain level. I don't know. I'm not telling you they'll be an elite defensive team. They may never be a good or very good defensive team. I think the issues that we saw last night and that we saw in the BYU game and that we saw in the TCU game are a little bit bigger than just defensive identity. This team lacks a certain willpower, a certain drive. Maybe the best word is they lack a certain tenacity, right? My favorite part of this Badgers basketball team is that John Blackwell is their best player, and he is a badass, and he's strong, and he's physical, and he's not afraid to mix it up. That's my favorite part of this team. My least favorite part of this team is that their shooting guard is the strongest and most physical and most badass player on the floor. Like, I don't want my shooting guard to be the most physical guy out there. I don't want the best, strongest player around the rim to be my shooting guard. Like, I think 6-foot Kamari McGee had more strength and dog down low than some of these guys do. And I know that Nolan Winter had a run of double-doubles, and if you just If you just look at the stats, you'll say, okay, Nolan Winters kind of, he's holding his own. It's more in the eye test. These guys just don't have it in the paint, and they don't have the physical, whether it's rebounding or whether it's playing down around the rim when things kind of start to push and shove, and where things quite, literally and figuratively push and shove, push comes to shove. They just don't have it. Their shooting guard, John Blackwell, is their strongest, most physical, biggest dog on the court. I don't like any of these forwards. And I love Nolan Winters' potential, but I can't just sit here and talk about his potential. He's got the traits. He's got the size. He's got the shooting ability. I mean, I'm not going to spend all year doing that. And I know they take a lot of threes. I have no problem with them taking a lot of threes. It's not that I need them throwing post-ups to Nolan Winter, and I don't need, Austin Rapp or, whoever running back cuts and pressuring that. Like, I don't need that on every possession. I'm fine with all of the three-point attempts, but you can't have no pressure on the rim. There's a lot of ways to get pressure on the rim that don't involve slow it way down, throw an entry pass in down onto the block. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of ways to pressure the rim and to space the floor offensively. Typically, when you talk about spacing the floor, you need shooting because you need to space the floor out. Well, when you're too much of a jump shooting team, you need to find a way to space the floor down towards the rim, right? You need a certain gravity. You talk about three-point shooting gravity. Well, that cuts both ways. If the only pressure that you're exerting on offense is out around the rim, you get pretty easy to defend. Just like if the only pressure you exert on offense is near the rim, you get pretty easy to defend because now I don't have to defend you out to the three-point line. The Badgers have the opposite problem. And it's not just because they shoot too many threes, or it's not just that they can't rebound. It's bigger than that. I don't even think the word soft would, imply that they're a bunch of babies, and I don't think that's true. I think they lack a certain tenacity. You know what I mean? To get pushed and then be able to push back. To get in there and to kick and to scream and to jump and to pressure and to be around the rim. And that's not just a matter of scoring at the rim. It's not just a matter of rebounding. It's every little piece of basketball that is connected to a physical presence and a physical play style and a tenacity around the rim. They're lacking that. And that presents in so many different ways. We saw most of them last night. We saw most of them against TCU and BYU as well. And I also think there might be a little bit of a mental tenacity. You know what I mean? And we talked about this with Jesse Temple yesterday at the very end of our conversation, where it's like, we haven't seen them win a close game yet. It's pretty easy for a basketball team to have a great offensive night, to build a lead, and then run away with a game. It's front running. And that's an effective way to win basketball games if that's your play style. If you can shoot the lights out and you get out in transition and you can gap a team and run away and play from ahead and make your free throws and do all those things, that's a fine way to win basketball games, but that can't be the only way that you win basketball games. So this team isn't just lacking a physical tenacity around the rim. They're lacking a mental tenacity where when the game starts to go sideways, you're able to grab back on and pull it back in. This team lets go of the rope, man. You know what I mean? Like, when I think of the expression "let go of the rope," I think of water skiing, right? When you hit a little bit of a wave or you start going down, do you have the strength to pull yourself back up? Do you have the strength and the balance to be able to fight that little moment where it feels like you're going to fall? And I suppose this could apply to, downhill skiing or whatever activity where you're holding on to something or you're maintaining balance. Not to go all cowherd with an analogy, but this Badgers team, as soon as they hit a wave or they hit a little adversity, they kind of they tip over. They let go of the rope. And I'm not going to tell you that I would have been thrilled with an 85-90 loss at Nebraska, but I'd be a lot happier about a 60-90 loss or a 90-60 loss. I think that's how you should say the score, but it's a bit of Badgers commentary, so I'm leading. They lost by 30 points. So maybe I'll find that sound from Jesse from yesterday, and I'll bring that in as we come back from the next break. But that's my thought on the Badgers basketball team at this hour. And Greg Gard, a little snazzy, a little snappy, a little snarky, and he should be.
Guys on the bench.
He should have that. One thought on this Sharon Moore situation, because it's probably the biggest story in sports going right now. For the purposes of this show, I don't really care about the human story. You feel for the people involved because he's in jail currently for alleged assault, and it seems like his wife and family was in a really bad spot, and then this woman who he was involved with, and they're really bad spot, dangerous situation. So yes, you're sympathetic to all that, to the humans that are involved. But for the purposes of a sports talk show, for a sports radio or a television topic, the angle that interests me is the Michigan Wolverines head coaching job is now open on December 11th. And that's kind of insane. They have joined a hiring cycle, or I wouldn't even say joined a hiring cycle, because for the most part, the hiring cycle is mostly concluded. They are now hiring a coach after the hiring cycle opened and concluded for programs like LSU, Penn State, Florida, Michigan State, a lesser program, but not a nothing program. That's not Purdue, Kentucky, where I remember, a month or two ago, I don't know if I was listening to Josh Pate on with Colin Cowherd or where he was, talked about some of the best jobs in college football. And someone threw out, like Kentucky's a baller job because you're going to make a bunch of money and you're not really going to be expected to beat the heavyweights. You're going to have a lot of job security there. Like Kentucky's not a bad job. Michigan State, I don't know, but that's a legit Big Ten school. But schools like LSU, Penn State, Florida, it took Penn State forever to fill the gig. And Penn State is a program that's a tier or maybe even two beneath Michigan. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, like, here's who would be on my short list for Michigan, because I don't know. Like, Matt Campbell kind of seemed like the last, like, wow, that's a good coach at a lesser program. You could probably poach him for the right amount of money. Like, who's Michigan going to go get? He pull someone from the NFL? And Bryce Underwood, who's making a mountain of money, isn't like 10 plus million a year because Michigan pulled him away from LSU in the last recruiting cycle. Like, what's he think of all this? So it's a fascinating situation, not just for the drama and for the human story of a coach that, was involved in a lot of things he shouldn't have been involved in, and that impacts his family, and that impacts the family of some of his staffers. And now you're hearing all these things come out. It's like, well, actually, Sharon Moore's been up to, a lot of things like this for a while, and it's been kept quiet. And another interesting part is Michigan knew about this, and they kept it quiet, and they seemingly waited to drop the hammer until after signing day, until after Ohio State, Michigan, until after the bowls were settled and the college football playoff was settled. So that's an interesting part too. But really, for a Wisconsin sports show, and again, college football isn't my main squeeze, but it's pretty nuts that on December 11th, Michigan is now looking to hire a coach after LSU, Penn State, Florida all hired theirs. Michigan State, Kentucky, others. I mean, these are legit football programs who have all fired and hired or settled. And I feel like Michigan can't just hire a no-name guy. There's too much money on the line with that quarterback, with that roster, with all the television money that the Big Ten is bringing in and distributing to schools via revenue sharing. Like, I'm just now really interested to see what Michigan does next. And that's aside from what has happened and what is yet to be revealed and decided with Sharon Moore and what happens with him now that he's been fired. So that's my thought on the story of the day. Badgers basketball kind of leads the show. If you have a thought on either one of those things, I'll take your calls next, but I got to take a 3-minute break. If you're on hold, I promise. Right on the other side, I'll get to you. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
What happens when they get in a tough environment like what Nebraska is going to be like, and it's a close game? They haven't really played many close games. Do they have the toughness? The two losses sort of stick out because BYU is just a fantastic team.
Yep.
They won on a buzzer beater against Clemens last night, and the TCU game as well. But I just like so much about what they're doing and the way they've evolved. And Andrew Roden coming off a career high, and Alexis Filiowski and Nolan Winter got double-doubles. So I think that this is going to be one of the more entertaining Badgers teams we've seen.
So that's what Jesse had to say yesterday. And, he talked a little bit about Belauskas and Winter, and they're on a run of double-doubles. And that's why double-doubles sometimes can be a little misleading, because I know Nolan Winter's had a great run, lots of rebounds, lots of points. But then I watch him, it's like they just don't put any pressure on the rim. There's no gravity around the rim. We saw that last night. There's no tenacity. And then Jesse's comment about, well, it'll be interesting to see what they look like in a close game, because their wins have all been blowouts and their losses have been blowouts. Well, last night they lost by 30. So I would have liked to see what they look like down the stretch in the close game. I think they let go of the rope with 8-9 minutes left in the second half. Don't take my word for it. That's what the Badgers reporters were tweeting in Lincoln last night. So some of your phone calls here, and the Sharon Moore story, probably the biggest story of the day. I gave you a quick thought on that. I don't have much more to offer, but if you have something to say, by all means, 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hey, Darnell, what's going on? Loved your call to Ebo's show this morning. Excellent work. Are you still a short white dude, or you are a short white dude? Okay. Okay. Okay.
On the defensive side for the Badgers right now. Like, I don't see them taking accountability or taking pride in shutting down the person that they're supposed to be guarding. They're playing off, they do a lot of switching. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
So they don't really, which is fine if that's your defensive scheme, and I get it, but like they're not sticking to their man. Right?
I'm fine with switching, but I think switching can sometimes promote a little bit of a mindset or of a philosophy that's, a little bit more laissez-faire. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you can be a great defensive team and play zone, but I think it invites a certain mindset, and that's the mindset that you're kind of outlining here.
Yeah, I just think that if Greg Gard used to go, we're going to play strict man here, just to instill a little bit of like defensive, go back to it, defensive pride, or like really take ownership of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see from them. I know they haven't really been like the best defensive team since Bo Ryan left, but this last night I haven't seen something like that from the Badgers, like really ever. Like it was just like you said, it was giving up after already looking really bad and then looking even worse
Yeah.
in the final 7 minutes. Like that, I haven't seen that. That felt like what Penn State basketball fans have to watch, or Northwestern. You know what I mean? Like it's just like getting just your brakes beat off there. I don't know. That it was very discouraging, and I had a lot of optimism about this Badger team that maybe I don't have as much of right now. It's not because they got beat like that. It was because of how they got beat, right? And they all looked dejected, and Greg Gard didn't exactly instill any confidence in the post-game interviews.
No,
personally, but I don't know. It stinks. It's early in the year, though. They can always turn things around, and I have no reason to doubt Greg Gard at this point. I guess I need to see more fight, especially on the defensive end.
Well,
and
I know you mentioned defensive scheme, Darnell. That's a great call. I don't doubt that defensive scheme and execution can get better. It's December, and now in college basketball, half of the roster turns over, and this is an offensive-led team anyway. So the defense is always going to be playing catch-up. We saw that last year, and I think last year they mostly figured it out and defended it at a high enough level. I didn't watch last night and think, their scheme. Like, they just weren't trying all that hard. And that was reflected in the tone of the coach after the game. So that, to me, that's a deeper-rooted issue than, they're not passing off the right switches, or they're not sticking to assignments because they're still figuring out their defense. That stuff can be worked out in practice and over time if the guys desire that. Last night, it didn't really look like they had any desire. And I like the take about, switching versus man defense. I think both can be successful, but when you're switching, it invites a little bit of a mindset and an attitude of, I don't need to fight to get over a pick. I don't need it. It's just a less combative, less locked in style of defense that invites maybe certain mindsets that we really saw in the second half, probably starting with like 8 or 9 minutes left, maybe even more so in the second half. 608-321-1670. 2 more callers on hold here. I'll get to you both. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. How are you doing? This is Clemhead.
I'm doing good, Clemhead. How are you?
Oh, good. Great. I'm just waiting. My grandkids should be here real soon, so I'll have to leave your show in a few minutes. But the guys in the live stream said they can't hear the phone calls. So
yeah, I got her fixed. I saw you guys.
Oh, good.
Thanks for letting me know.
Oh, yeah. I don't really, I've told you this before, I don't really follow college football anymore, but I looked at that Sharon Moore thing.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to Gottlieb today for some stupid reason, and he was brushing it off. I mean, you used to heard this guy. He's worse than Schefter. He said, it's an affair. The guy had an affair. He's a Jewish person, but he actually quoted Jesus as let he who was without sin cast the first stone. Then he started comparing it to drunken driving. Have any of you ever drove drunk? That's a crime too. And he's going on. And God, I hate Doug Gottlieb. You know what, Grant? If I had 3 wishes, one wish would be 10 minutes in the locked room with Doug Gottlieb, no cops. I swear to God, I would kill that son of a.
Okay. Well, the K word is a strong word. Maybe beat him up. Maybe that's better. The thing is, like, if it was just an affair, fine. Like, I don't think we have any illusions of college football coaches always being like the best people.
Right.
He's in jail for alleged assault. Like, it's more than just he was, hooking up with one of his inferiors, which probably happens in a lot of programs, not with Greg Gard, though. Let's make that clear.
Yeah, that girl that he assaulted, she got, without any change in job title or job responsibility, her pay raise, she got like 55% pay raise, went from like 50-some thousand to 90,000 while she was working for him. So there's something, he's probably hush money, so she wouldn't say anything. But
maybe, and I think maybe if Michigan, looking, Clem had this is a good call. I appreciate it. Have fun with the grandkids. If the worst part for Michigan is that they kept this quiet. Now, if no one was in danger, but then again, he ends up in jail because it really escalated. So if this had come public a couple weeks ago, maybe it wouldn't have happened, or maybe it would have. Who knows? I can understand having the take of it's just an affair, and that's not a crime. So is this Michigan's way of wanting to get out of this coaching deal with cause? You know what I mean? I heard Middlecoff talk about this yesterday, and this was before we really had all the facts. But of course, you need to do an emergency podcast the second that we get news. So everyone's reacting to the Sharon Moore story without really knowing like the degree of seriousness, which is people are threatened, and now he is in jail because people were threatened. It's alleged assault. I think a lot of people said, well, it wasn't going great at Michigan. You lost to Ohio State. You're spending all this money. You had a disappointing season. Okay, so if we can fire you for cause for having an affair, we will. If they were good, probably wouldn't be the case. You know what I mean? You probably get away with that stuff if you're winning. So sure, that's a reasonable conversation to have, if not for the alleged assault, which makes it much more serious. Gottlieb, I like Gottlieb as a talk show host and as a person when I've met him. Sometimes he takes stances where I'm like, you don't have to you don't have to take the stance. No one's making you take the stance, man. You know, like on Political Talk, I'm sure a lot of those shows, it's like, these are the company talking points. These are what's going to get people going. Like, no one's making you compare what Sharon Moore is doing to drunk driving and then defend it. Like, who among us hasn't had a couple pops and then hopped behind the wheel? Like, no one's making you have that stance, Doug. Like, he just does it to himself sometimes. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, you're right. Winning does cure all, and it helps cover up these stories. I mean, you don't have to look too much further in the Big Ten than Penn State. And it's ironic because I saw Penn State fans ripping on the University of Michigan, and you know, a lot of people just don't know their history these days, I think.
Well, it's gross. It's a lot of the Ohio State casting stones at Michigan, even though Urban Meyer was a perv, and then Penn State too. It's like, you guys, you know, Wisconsin, Iowa, we'll handle our business over here. Ethical programs. We might not win like you guys, but you guys over there in the eastern portion, the former East, Big Ten East, you work that out amongst yourselves. Not to mention Michigan State, who is no worse, like Mel Tucker was just as bad.
Yeah. Just don't go digging too deep into Barry Alvarez, something involving a hot tub, second family down in Florida. Just don't go digging too deep down.
I won't go digging too deep. All
right. Speaking of the Badgers, is last night, can we chalk it up to tough to win in this league on the road, or is that something more? Because that felt and looked ugly.
It's something more. If they lose by 7, Nebraska's a really tough place to play. It's a really hard place to go win, and Nebraska might just be pretty good. We still don't know how good any of these teams are, so like, watch Nebraska be an elite team. It is hard to win in this league. It's really hard to win in Nebraska. Giving up with 10 minutes left in the second half is not. It's hard to win in this league.
Yeah, Nolan Winter, he looked a little lost out there. Not sure how long number 51 on Nebraska has been there, but man, he's the Brad Davison of the Cornhuskers.
Is it time for concern with Nolan Winter?
It's time to be curious, I think.
Okay.
Going into each game on what he's gonna, give you. I'm not quite at the concern level. I think his mindset, honestly, is like he thinks he's better than he is, and that's I guess what concerns me.
All right, a little bit of entitlement, Cone. That's a good call. I appreciate it. I don't know with Nolan Winter because he's got all the tools, and I really want to believe in him. I don't know. I know he racks up the double doubles, but then I watch. It's like, this isn't good enough. Anytime I see people tweeting pictures of Steven Crowell, like, we miss this man. I was like, oh. We wanted him out of town for 2 years. This does not speak well of our current situation. One more call here, and then we got to go to break. Sorry. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, it's Doc from Holman.
Hey, Doc. What's going on?
Before I get to my Badger question, I would hope that tomorrow you don't get a phone call from Simpson, being the biggest Packer fan in the world, for one game and one game only, just because it will only help his Patriots. So
we'll take his support. We'll take his support as long as he's not drunk, which it's 4 in the afternoon on a Friday. So
4 in the afternoon. Yeah, he's been drinking since 10 in the morning.
Yeah,
so.
That's probably true.
As far as last night's game, the one thing I noticed, at least at the beginning of the game, our guards were penetrating, and when the bigs collapsed, they were dumping it off for the easy layups in the first 5 minutes of the game, and then they went away from it. Then all of a sudden they started jacking up threes, and then I get your point on the defense because, Muggsy Hoiberg was just slicing right through our timber and, getting the and one every time. So, yeah, defense definitely has to come through. But, man, why did they go away from driving and dumping it off?
I think it's a little bit of a mindset thing. It's harder to drive than it is to catch and shoot. It's easier to switch on defense than it is to play man. You just notice all these tendencies that, Doc, it's easier to do what they're doing than the things that they need to be doing.
Yeah, okay. You would think after a while, if the three isn't going down, try something different, man, because these guys are firing them up, and all you got was clank dang near every time.
And I don't mind the 3-point shooting, Doc. That's a great call. It's just you need to find some way to exert some pressure on the rim. Otherwise, the floor gets pretty easy to defend, and it gets really easy to rebound because you're not getting any extra opportunities, especially when your best rebounder is your friggin' shooting guard. Adjusted for size and strength. I know Nolan Winter and other guys are pulling down more boards, but like John Blackwell, I think is the nastiest, like most tenacious guy around the rim. All right, we got one more caller. I'm a softie, and then we'll go to break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Oh, you are a softie. Hey, Grant, that Michigan coach, he's a Don Draper type to represent him,
Think
kind
so?
of spin this in the right direction. Yeah.
Was Nick Saban right all along when he said that, boys, you don't want to get involved with any lady that has less to lose than you do? And didn't he say, if I'm ever going to cheat on Miss Terry, it's got to be with Hillary Clinton, who at the time was maybe all the rage. I don't know. This is probably in the 90s when he said this.
Yeah, Bobby Petrino didn't listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Cone Roller's got a short-term memory. Does he not remember Bo Ryan having fun with her?
Hey.
Does he not remember? Am I out in something that's not known?
Well,
I mean, but let's call it like it is. I mean, the Badgers aren't squeaky clean themselves.
Well,
And,
they're not in jail. They're not in jail for alleged assault.
Okay,
Nobody's in jail for alleged assault.
That's true. Okay. It's not a crime. But what I'm saying is, come on, Cone. The Badgers got to get some dogs on the court. And, Grant, I'm in AAU recruiting season. I just want dogs.
What do you look for? How can you
Badgers.
find dog, Tony?
It's a mindset. Skill's great. Skill is great. You got to be able to shoot, got to be able to dribble. But I need dudes that want to defend, that want to rebound, and aren't afraid of contact.
Because you can teach them all the other things.
Well, you got to have some kind of talent.
Well,
I don't know if LaCroix Butler can get out there and shoot a three, but you got to be able to have some kind of talent and then get guys in the weight room and want to compete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't need who's that guy that had the apartment that we shipped out.
Connor
3-point shooter. Connor Seagen, yeah, nice guy by the way, but the guy wasn't a dog.
I mean,
he could shoot.
I mean, we're so far down this Connor Seagen road. I don't even know what he is anymore. He went from Nebraska. Is he still in Nebraska? I think he's out for the year, right?
Yeah. But, the state of Wisconsin hoops, Marquette, it's just a bad year all around. I know you hate Marquette, but it's not a good year for the state hoops. I mean, UW Green Bay has actually closed the gap a little bit. So, it's not going to be a good March this year, but it is what it is.
Well, look, it's a long season. The fear is last night, they look like they didn't want to get in there and mix it up. And that's not adjustable through scheme or anything. That's just a bunch of guys who don't want to compete and do the things that are necessary to do to win in the Big Ten on a Wednesday night at Nebraska, nonetheless. All right, we'll take a couple minute break. We'll come back. We'll continue this next couple more Badgers thoughts. And I want to get into some Packers items as well.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Change the way that you view the game?
No, it certainly doesn't change my desire to win. If I want to keep doing this, I have to have fun doing it. I've been through a lot, and if it's not fun, then what am I doing it for? So that's the mindset I'm trying to bring to the table.
That's Joe Burrow. Was that yesterday or earlier today? I think it might have been yesterday. We addressed it on Bill's show earlier. That is page 1 of the disgruntled athlete playbook. The athlete that might not be happy with the current situation or the current team. I have no joy. I'm not having fun. I want to get my joy back. I want to have fun playing this sport again. Not an insignificant headline in the grand scheme of the NFL. Joe Burrow maybe flirting and dropping some hints. And there's some more audio from that. Maybe we can pick at it if this is a topic that interests you the way that it interests me. You just don't have a lot of big-time quarterbacks, top 5, top 8 quarterbacks in football, especially ones in their prime. And Joe Burrow, 29, I think. 29, yeah, 29. I looked up earlier today. Presumably in his prime or pretty darn close to it. Publicly being very unhappy with his organization. And, like Matt Stafford in Detroit once upon a time, people don't really fault him for being unhappy with his organization. So I think that's a big story going in the NFL right now. And I think a small symptom of a larger thing that's affecting the AFC. So I want to get into that. We'll get back into the Badgers at 5 o'clock, and I'll take more of your phone calls. Your phone calls welcome whenever. 608-321-1670. All the lines are open, so I won't make you wait. We're looking at the AFC standings during Bill's show earlier today, and it's pretty easy to notice something that's going on. So if you just go conference standings, current playoff picture, the top teams are Denver, New England, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, the Chargers. The Bills are 6th. The Texans are 7. Interestingly, in spots 9 and 10, out of the playoff picture entirely, the Ravens and the Chiefs. I find it interesting and not all that surprising. I'm not breaking new ground here. But this year in the AFC, teams that are really struggling or relatively struggling, but I guess teams that are really struggling, Ravens and Chiefs, and a team that I think has relatively struggled, the Buffalo Bills, who are 9-4 and in line for a playoff spot, but 9-4 is not the record that you would expect a high-level Super Bowl team to have, quarterbacked by Josh Allen, right? I'm not saying that 9-4 is bad, but coming into the year, if I would have told you the Bills would be 9-4 through 13 games, you're like, well, Allen missed some time. You'd be a little. The teams that are really, really, really looking good, Denver and New England. Team in the South, the Jaguars, that division's a little different. But don't look now, the Houston Texans are 8-5, and they have some real edge. That defense is nasty, right? Teams that are struggling in the AFC this year, teams that are relatively struggling, the Chiefs, the Bills, relatively, and the Ravens, teams with high-level MVP quarterbacks that have been paid a lot of money for a good while now. I know Justin Herbert's making good money, but he hasn't been making good money for as long as those guys. Trevor Lawrence has been making good money. He hasn't been paid and hasn't been getting paid as long as those other guys. He also plays in the South, which is a little different. So if the Bills were in the South, they'd be in first place at 9-4 instead of second in their own division in a wild card because the Patriots are 11-2. Teams that are excelling in the AFC this year, Bo Nix and the Broncos, rookie quarterback. Drake May and New England, rookie quarterback. Houston and C.J. Stroud are really putting a push on now. And when you consider that the Texans are 8-5 with C.J. Stroud missing 3 or 4 games, right, that makes it a little bit more impressive. You can grade them on a slightly different curve. C.J. Stroud, rookie contract. I find it interesting that the Ravens, the Bills, the Bengals to a degree, Joe Burrow's been hurt, and the Chiefs, elite MVP level quarterbacks that you should be able to pencil in for double-digit wins, pencil in to win their division. Those teams are struggling this year, and I think in all counts, especially Baltimore and Kansas City, but Buffalo too, like they've had to enter a new era around their starting quarterback. Like Mahomes, Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and the conversation that we've always had on the show, how do you enter from that era and enter into the next? How do you retool around that quarterback? Because with these high-level, high-paid quarterbacks, there's typically peaks and valleys, right? You have a couple of elite years, and then the roster might get a little thin, and you got to figure it out. And then the Packers are a great example of this. I think they peaked around 2010, 2011, a little bit of a valley. They peaked again around 2014. That was a shorter peak. Had Jordy Nelson not been hurt in 15, maybe that peak's felt a little bit longer, goes back down into a dip, and then another peak in 2019, 2021, a little bit of a valley, and now they've kind of popped back up, right? Very easy to see the peaks and the troughs with these highly paid quarterbacks. Well, the Chiefs, I think, have fought back a trough. They've fought back a dip a little bit longer just on the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. And also, I think last year with some good fortune and good luck. There were a lot of one-score wins. The Ravens have mostly been able to do the same, although now I look at their roster and I'm like, not to mention Lamar Jackson's just taking a beating. He doesn't look the same. And the Bills, much of the same. The Bills' talent has dropped off. They don't have Stephon Diggs anymore. That defense just isn't what it was. And now it is incumbent on Brandon Beane and who's the general manager? Is it Ozzie Newsome in Baltimore? I can't remember. Or the cat who runs the Chiefs, whose name is escaping me. It's on them to now get younger talent and to build it back up. But man, what a golden opportunity for a team like the Patriots. Josh Allen is down. Joe Burrow's down. Patrick Mahomes is down. Lamar Jackson is down. What a great opportunity for the Broncos. A year that you don't have to go up against a Super Bowl quarterback. You can get by on the strength of your roster. Same for the Texans. If I was the Texans, I'm like, why couldn't C.J. Stroud in this offense get in a little bit of a groove for a month and our defense just completely flummoxes and clobbers Drake May, who's a rookie or second-year guy, but this would be his first playoff run. Bo Nix, who nobody really thinks is all that special. Like, why not the Texans? I just think it's a fascinating situation in the AFC. The NFC is a little bit more of a blend, right? You have a little bit more variety. Jordan Love's making big money. Stafford's been making big money. The Rams have had their own peaks and valleys. They're currently in a pretty good peak. Tampa, that's an interesting story. You have a lot more variance. The Lions, you have a lot more variance. The AFC is a clear theme. It's teams and coaches and rosters, not quarterbacks. It's the quarterbacks who are struggling. Then again, if Buffalo gets hot and Josh Allen plays at an MVP level, why not Josh Allen? Because they'll have the best quarterback in every game that's played. Football doesn't always work that way like it's supposed to work in the NBA. Got the best player in a series, you're supposed to win that series. In fact, when Tom Brady would lose in the playoffs in the AFC, it often wasn't to, another elite quarterback. It was to another elite team like Denver or Baltimore. Now, of course, he was just never going to go up against a quarterback that was better than him because he's the greatest of all time. But he didn't often lose to Peyton Manning. And when he did, it was when Peyton Manning had that stud defense and unbelievable roster in Denver. I'm almost more intrigued by the AFC playoff picture because I could see Drake May. Why not the Jags? Shoot, their coach is good, man. That's been kind of a fun little team. I don't really buy Justin Herbert and the Chargers, but it's been a fun situation. And now Joe Burrow's saying, I want my joy back. Let's hear that cut one more time.
Change the way that you view the game.
No, it certainly doesn't change my desire to win. If I want to keep doing this, I have to have fun doing it. I've been through a lot, and if it's not fun, then what am I doing it for?
Money. Money. Let me jump in. Money, a lot of money, and to compete. That's what you hear from a disgruntled star. I want my joy back. Where did my joy go? That's step number one. I'm interested to see if that goes anywhere. We'll come back in 3 minutes. A baseball thought before we reset the show at 5 o'clock and talk Badgers.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Well, it might not be the move you were looking for, but the Chicago Cubs did make a move on Thursday afternoon. Michael Cerami was on it first. They have signed left-handed reliever Holby Milner. Milner pitched about 70 innings last year with a 3.84 lefty with the Rangers, but he does have a big connection with Craig Counsell. He was a Brewer, I'm sure you could remember, for a few years there before heading to Texas and spent some time with Counsell. So the Cubs, the Cubs have a lot of work to do in their bullpen. This is just another step. They signed Maton, now Milner. The significance with Holby Milner is that he's left-handed. He'll be a left-handed specialist, which I love. I think you can't have enough lefties in the bullpen. But what does this mean for Caleb Thielbar, Drew Pomerantz? Are both those guys not coming back? Would one of them come back? Because I still think I'd like the Cubs to have another reliable lefty in there. But hopefully Milner does that. I mean, his numbers aren't going to wow you. It's not it's nothing like signing Phil Maton, but the Cubs deserve some benefit of the doubt here when it comes to, going to get veteran relievers like they did last year with Pomerantz and Thielbar. And, so hopefully Milner, he's a side armor, gets a lot of ground balls. Hopefully he has a similar year that, like I said, Pomerantz and Thielbar had last year. And Cubs still obviously have plenty of work to do. But Cubs get on the board, make a move here. Their second reliever signing of the offseason. Not what you were looking for, but something they needed to do.
Folks, breaking news today. Old friend Holby Milner is now a Chicago Cub. Nice little deal for him. He got like $3.5 million, I think I saw, $3.2 million. Just a good reason to get some Sam Olber audio onto the show. I love the Phil Maton mention because anytime Phil Maton is mentioned, I think of Barstool Frank or whatever his last name is. Didn't he have just a bitch and rant? And I dug up this cut when he was talking. Is this the Phil Maton had nothing.
This game wasn't lost by Phil Maton.
Yes.
I mean, Phil Maton had nothing. I mean, he had
Phil
some good
Maton had
games
nothing.
down the stretch, but he had fucking nothing today.
That's exactly the exact cut I was looking for. Phil Maton had effing nothing today.
This game wasn't lost by Phil Maton. I mean, Phil Maton had nothing. I mean, he had some good games down the stretch, but he had fucking nothing today.
He had nothing today. Now the Brewers would go on to lose that series against the Mets, but anytime I hear Phil Maton's name, I just think of Frank. That rant's so good.
He had fucking nothing.
He
today.
had nothing to, which is one of my favorite things to say about a reliever that I'm pissed at. He had nothing today. Chad Patrick had absolutely nothing today. So hardly some hot stuff news. The Brewers actually did make a move. They signed that cat from the Tigers. I almost said Dodgers because they got the D. Akil Baddoo, who was good as a rookie and has mostly been a minor leaguer since. He seems maybe next in line to be like, I don't know, David Dahl or Daz Cameron or whoever. But I don't know. My first thought when I saw the signing was Andrew Vaughn. It's like, okay, so flashed early and then got lost. I don't know. Key to Andrew Vaughn was he was in the White Sox organization, and the White Sox stink. The Tigers have shown that they don't stink. So a little bit of Brewers news. I wanted to play some Sam Olber audio and remember our friend, Holby Milner, left-handed specialist. Nice deal for him, like $3 million. So good for him. We'll see. Hour number 2 coming up next. I want to talk more Badgers basketball and more NFL. Mike Clemens looming as well.
She lets me use the car.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
For the winners of 4 in a row, the Green Bay Packers will go to Mile High to take on the Broncos, who have won 10 straight. And head coach Matt LaFleur was asked, is it difficult to prepare for the altitude out in Denver?
We had our performance staff talk to our players today, and there are certain things that you can do, but ultimately it is a circumstance, and you got to try to best prepare your body to go out there and handle the elements.
The other thing the Packers will have to deal with, the Broncos defense, which is one of the best in the league. Here's more from Coach Matt LaFleur.
They got a lot of great players, and they put them in great position, and they go out there and they play. I think there's a lot of similarities when I look at our defense in regards to the style of play, how hard they play, how hard they finish and tackle, and so it's going to be a great test for us.
Kickoff from Denver on Sunday will be at 3:25. Turning to Wisconsin football, they will have a different offensive line coach for the 5th time in 6 seasons, as Luke Fickell has reportedly fired A.J. Blazek after 2 years. and will replace him with former Arkansas offensive lineman Eric Mateos. Under Mateos, Arkansas had one of the best rush offenses in the country.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Wisconsin basketball would give up the most points this season, losing to Nebraska last night in Lincoln 90-60. And finally, the Milwaukee Bucks are looking to snap a 2-game losing streak as they host the Celtics at the Pfizer Forum tonight. Tip-off, that's coming at 7 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
We don't have a defensive identity. Haven't had one all year. So we'll search to find one, and I'll find guys that want to play defense. Sit guys on the bench.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Hour number 2, I believe we're going to hear from Mike Clemens at 5:35. I have not got the commensurate thumbs up emoji. That's when he normally joins us. I assume we're going to hear from him. If not, no big deal. We got plenty to discuss. Do you mind, will you humor me? Because, well, let me reverse engineer this for anyone who's joining right now as we speak. I gave you a little sound from Sam Olber, who does Locked On Cubs, because Holby Milner signed with the Cubs earlier today for like $3 million. Nice deal for him, actually. It'll probably be good. They actually did pretty good with reliever signings last year. The Cubs did. So it'll probably be good. Lefty specialist. And in that piece of sound, Sam mentioned Phil Maton, who I forgot is a Cub now. I can't remember who he was last year. Was he a Cub last year too? I can't remember. Anyways, Phil Maton, which takes me back to October 2024 when Garrett Mitchell and was it Churio in that game went back-to-back off Phil Maton, and we get one of the greatest rants ever. Can we just listen to this full rant from Frank Fleming of Barstool? He's their Mets guy. I need to listen to this. I forgot all about this sound, and it's Phil Maton who gave up both of the tanks.
This game wasn't lost by Phil Maton. I mean, Phil Maton had nothing. I mean, he had some good games down the stretch, but he had fucking nothing today. Should never have been allowed to face Mitchell. I mean, my God, God forbid it's Adam Ottavino, but you cannot have him out there.
First of all, this is just exemplifies perfectly what it is to be a baseball fan. Like, Phil Maton cannot be out there. I mean, God forbid it's Adam Ottavino, but it can't be Phil Lake. Like, the other guy sucks too. I don't want him out there, but not Phil Maton.
With Mitchell just being fucking a monster against the Mets. But Pete Alonso. Up your weight, you fat. You're turning into Daniel Vogelback more and more every day. I know you both went to Florida, so obviously you're every at bat you fucking suck. You cost yourself more money. I don't care if you even sign anymore.
He didn't.
The Mets are going to give you the qualifying offer. I'd rather have the draft pick.
I'd rather have the draft pick.
Build up your weight, you fat.
He had a pretty good rant yesterday about David Stearns, and I tried to cut it and play it on the show because they let Alonso walk. But there were so many swears I didn't have time to get it all edited before the show, so maybe tomorrow.
I mean, the Mets are going to give you the qualifying offer. I'd rather have the
draft pick.
Build up your weight, you fat.
And then I forgot he was also ranting about ESPN in the ninth inning, which everyone was, and thank God. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think ESPN's out of the baseball business or close to it or about to be. They were showing the interview in the ninth inning. I'd forgotten about this too.
And what the is this ESPN? It's a ninth inning, and you're showing an damn interview. I'm tired of the in-game interviews, and you missed a pitch. You missed a key pitch in the ninth inning. ESPN, drop it. Get baseball off ESPN. They hate baseball. It's clear. Their coverage sucks.
I don't like the in-game interviews. I don't need them in regular season games. Although in regular season games, at least it's like, whatever. Let's just chat with the guy in the clubhouse is one thing. You know what I mean? Or in the dugout. I don't need it in playoff games.
Up your weight, you fat.
just so good. And the best part of that clip, the sneaky, funny, the hilarious part of that clip is Phil Maton can't be out there. God forbid it's Adam Ottavino. Yesterday, we found a way to shoehorn the Josh Hader trade into the show. Tonight, we're reliving a Brewers-Mets game from 2024 that didn't even result in a playoff win. But it did give us a good Frank the Tank rant, who I thought of today when Phil Maton was mentioned in a Sam Olber clip announcing Hobie Milner's signing with the Cubs. So that's how we ended up here. I hope you enjoyed this little journey. Badgers basketball. Let's get into it. Greg Gard after the game last night. I'm just going to give you the first minute or two of his presser just to set the scene of exactly how pissed he was, and he's pissed with good reason.
Toughness your team displayed. We don't have a defensive identity. Haven't had one all year. So we'll search to find one, and I'll find guys that want to play defense. Sit guys on the bench.
Changes.
We'll find out in the next 9 days.
Whoa!
We haven't had a defensive identity all year. And everybody gets all rah-rah about our offense, but it's the other end of the floor that's caused us trouble.
I wasn't that rah-rah about their offense last night. It was 60 points on, what was the final line? I got too many box scores open here. What did they even shoot? Wisconsin took 32 threes at 70. They shot 20% from three, 34% from the field. I'm not even that rah-rah about their offense sometimes when I watch them. Like, yeah, they're scoring 60, but for the way that they play, that's not going to cut the mustard. Anyways, keep going, Greg Gard.
And obviously tonight it was, credit to Nebraska. They beat us every way possible. There's not another facet in the game of basketball that they couldn't kick our rear end with. They did it all.
John.
Anything they were doing?
What's that?
Did they surprise you with anything that they were doing?
No, they're playing well. Fred's doing a good job. When you got Rank Mass kind of anchoring that and quarterbacking what they do offensively, it puts a lot of pressure on you. And when you're not connected defensively, when you're guarding individually instead of collectively as a team, they feast on that. Any good offensive team does.
By the way, Fred Hoiberg, the head coach of I'm talking about, head coach of Nebraska. A sneaky underrated moment from the first hour and sneaky good caller moment was Doc and Holman referring to Sam Hoiberg as Muggsy Hoiberg, who's 6 feet and still had no problem mixing it up in the paint, more so than any of the Badgers forwards did. Muggsy Hoiberg. I just wanted to give him his due. Go ahead.
John.
You mentioned them just doing better everywhere against you guys defensively. Was there an area that in particular where you felt like the defense was especially coming up short?
For 40 minutes. But, maybe there at the end, I thought we had some better defensive possessions. Hayden Jones was in the game. He did what we wanted him to do and handle screens. So I'll watch the film and really evaluate it from then. But there wasn't – we started well, but then offensively, specifically, I thought we were doing some good things early. And then we went completely away what was treating us really well and took bad shots, put them in transition, let Sanford get loose for some threes. And we get back cut right away. Hoiberg gets a wide open three. Just consistent mistakes that we've got 9 days here to work on things.
As I said in the first hour, I can deal with some mistakes. Mistakes aren't good. Miscommunications or mishandling of assignments. It's not good. But I can deal with that in early December. I can't deal with the team just letting go of the rope. And if it had only happened once this year, whatever. But it's happened now a couple of times. I don't like that this team is that quick to let go of the rope. That's not something you should see from a team with any sort of legitimate postseason aspirations, tournament aspirations, at least in March. I just don't like a team that lets go of the rope. I think it's a horrible sign. And even if they lose last night, if they battle back, they finished the first half really poorly. I don't remember exactly what the run was, but it was something like a 20-6, 20-7 run, something like that. I bookmarked it at the time. Just take my word for it. It was something bad. It felt like, all right, let's just survive this, get into halftime. You can adjust and let's make a game of this in the second half. And they couldn't do it. They ended the first half really poorly, and then they kind of gave up before too long. I can handle the mistakes and the miscommunications or the passing off of incorrect assignments. It's an offensive first team, and it's December, and half the kids just got here. Oh, yeah, and the new starter, Bielauskas, is a true freshman. And I actually think he's played okay, but he's a true freshman on a team that's old in a league where Greg Gard's mantra now is to stay old and get old, and they're starting a true freshman. So you're going to have mistakes. I can't deal with the letting go of the rope. They don't have an edge. There's no tenacity. right? They don't put pressure on the rim. And it's not just a matter of they shoot too many threes. You can shoot all the threes that you want, but you have to find a way offensively to make the defense defend all the way down to the rim as well. You know, we always talk about gravity. We talk about stretching the defense. Like, we need to make them defend all the way out to the three-point line. Well, you also need to, you know, especially with the way the basketball offense is played in this century, in 2025, a lot of the, you know, the importance of stretching the defense is getting them to stretch back, pushing them back towards the rim to create space for your shooters and making sure that they can't just, you know, ignore that space. Doesn't mean you need to throw post-ups, and they shouldn't because they don't have anyone to throw post-ups to. But you need some sort of action at the rim. You need some sort of pressure at the rim. Otherwise, the defense just, they don't have to defend the whole thing. It's just easy. And you're not forcing them to box out and rebound because everyone's out on the perimeter. You miss your three, that's an easy defensive possession. And now they're off and running, especially if the ball kicks and now they get out in transition. It just makes life really, really difficult. So those are some more spiritual, or spiritual is a dramatic word, but you know what I'm getting at. Like, that's bigger than any lack of defensive scheme or defensive identity. That's just the personality with which they play, which is horrid, to say the least. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Denny from Holman.
Denny, hey! I thought we might hear from you tonight. This is right up your alley.
So last night I watched that shit show, basically. And, you know, they were in it the first 7-8 minutes. And then you could just see it slipping away. And then they started jacking up threes, you know, and playing no defense. And to me, Boyd and Blackwell can never get on the same page. And, you know, if one's hot, the other one's cold, vice versa. And, you know, it's a little bit alarming to almost quit on it and get beat by 30 points. You know, your first.
They didn't kind of quit. They just did. They just straight up.
They did. They quit. And, you know, here, I think they gave Guard a raise, too. They just renewed his contract or something, you know.
Well, and Blackwell last night, 1 of 11 from the field.
I know. And, you know, it was no like hustle. There was, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, well, we're going to lose. So, you know, whether it's by 10 or 20 or whatever. So, and it just, I don't know, it left a bad taste in my mouth for watching the Badgers.
Well, it should. It should. There's no other taste to have in your mouth after watching that, Denny.
And I liked your with Bill last night. I liked your take on Bill took Denver, you took the Packers. I kind of feel like what we said a few weeks ago when we said that, you know, don't let Goff beat you, you know, and keep the penalties down and everything. I think that's the same recipe for this week. I think that Knicks has never been under a lot of pressure, and I think if our defense can really come and bring it, you know, I think they got a good chance to upset them.
I think they have a great chance. I mean, they're favored for a reason. I think they have an advantage at quarterback. I think an interesting matchup that hasn't been talked about enough, Denny, great call, is the coaches. Because both of these teams are designed to play with an early lead, the pass rush, the defense, right? So what kind of script is Sean Payton bringing? What kind of script is Matt LaFleur bringing to best position their teams to jump out to that early lead? Who can get up to a 10-3 lead? Who can jump out to a 13-3 lead? Now, before Vagabond John calls and yells at me, oh, getting out to a lead, what a great take, Grant. Obviously, any team is going to be better positioned to play with a lead. But these two teams specifically, the way they rush the passer and the way that they can control the running game, you know, Denver, great defensively at some things. Their rushing defense is not exactly tops, and thank God, because the Packers can't rush it even on lesser defenses, you know. But which team can execute their script early, can bring in their bag of tricks early, get out to a lead, let the pass rush hunt, and then try to possess the ball on offense? I think if the Packers could go back and redo anything and do anything differently that they did in the Bears game, it was, when we got out to a lead, we want to try to put some drives together to give our pass rush a rest. Even if we don't think we're going to score, like, yes, we want big plays, and yes, we want to strike. Like that touchdown to Christian Watson, a massive play in that game. But in both of the 3-and-outs that they had, Jordan Love's throwing boundary shots to Romeo Doubs on the right sideline, Bo Melton on the left. Like, hey, wait a minute. 10-point lead, pass rush is kicking ass. Can we get them a breather and send them back out to let them try to help us close out this game? Yes, you need to keep scoring. Yeah. And I think it's especially important in the altitude. Can the Packers get out to a lead and then possess the ball so that pass rush can go out there and kick ass and then get a little bit of a break? 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Tommy, and Madison.
Hey, Tommy, what's up?
Not too much. I was just kind of reflecting on one of the reasons I love this show so much. I think it's because we have very similar hierarchies when it comes to our favorite sport teams here, where, tell me if I'm wrong, love the Brewers. Packers, depending on the season, you don't have to rank them because they're at different times of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Badger football, okay. Badger basketball gets you a little hyped up, and then kind of everything else down below.
See, that would be an important thing if you were to like the show, is you would have to, similarly rank the teams. And part of it's like a radio topic too, like what teams make for good conversation.
I think there's a lot of that. I did not watch the Badger basketball game last night. I'm just hearing about people talking about it all. Sounds like I made a good decision by not subjecting myself to that. So I'm very, very happy about that. As far as the Packers, my little brother is a Broncos fan. My dad's from Colorado. When we were younger, he made us watch John Elway VHSs over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
He was too young. He got brainwashed. He's never lived in Colorado. It's frankly sad. So I'm pretty excited about this one. He's running away to my dad to go watch it with him, and so I'll have to, text him or whatever else this is going on. I also feel good about it. I think that we'll finally get the running going, and that we'll just be able to take care of it. I don't really have anything else other than one thing I was going to say that I don't think anyone else talks about, but is that Carolina running back Dowdle or whatever being a little overlooked by people? In the Panthers as a whole, they took down the Rams, they took down the Packers. I don't think the Packers played that horribly against the Panthers.
No,
I think the Panthers are better than people give them credit for.
I think the Panthers are such an interesting case study. Tommy, that's a great call. And you talk about, by the way, one more time on possessing the ball and trying to, get to a lead and rest your pass rush. I just wanted to double check. I don't remember who it was. If it was Charge earlier today, mentioned that the Broncos not great against the rush. And that was not necessarily what came to mind. They're 6th in EPA per rush. So I don't know what they are in yards per game and stuff. I'll have to look a little bit more deeply into that, but I just pulled up Sumer because I wanted to know what they were. The last thing that you said, Tommy, crap, what was it? Oh, balls. It'll come to me. I'm sorry. Carolina. I think Carolina, you talk to smart people, are one of the best prepared teams on a week-by-week basis. Game plan, strategy. And I think Carolina is not that dissimilar from the Bears in that they are very good at what they're good at. And if they can get the game to a state that plays to their advantage, they can win. You know what I mean? I think the Bears are the same way. The Bears are outstanding at running the ball, possessing the ball, running the clock, forcing turnovers. And if they can get the game to a state that plays to those strengths, they can beat anybody. They can beat the best teams in football. Meanwhile, teams like the Packers and the Rams and even the Lions, these are teams with a higher high end. But if they get caught up in a game that doesn't play to their advantage, they're fallible, which, by the way, is true of, like, anybody can beat anybody in the NFL. But the Panthers are a really good spot. And I think one of the most interesting stories, I mean, it starts tomorrow. Is Tampa Bay going to win tomorrow night? Tampa Bay, as we discussed on Bill's show and Buy or Sell earlier today, Tampa Bay started the season 6-2. They've lost 4 of 5 to fall to 7-6. Like, are they going to be the team that comes out of the South, or is it going to be the Panthers? What's going on there? That's something interesting to follow for sure. One more call here, and then we're going to go to break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Eric on I-90.
Good evening, Eric on I-90. What's up?
Good evening, Grant. So, Grant, it's almost a full season of, boy, we're way off topic. Am I allowed?
Yes.
Are you still watching Survivor, or is that kind of off your plate now?
I have been following. I've had a good many things going on. It hasn't been a priority, but I've been following it.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, that's all right. I haven't been that far into it either. It's a football season. Not true. You talk about recipes. Now, Minnesota they play Dallas, and here's the recipe for Dallas to win, for Minnesota to win this game.
Okay.
They get up by 7-0 in the first quarter. Second quarter, they score another touchdown and hold Dallas to nothing. All right, they come out in the second half. They score another touchdown in the third quarter, hold Dallas to nothing. And then the fourth quarter, score another touchdown, make it 28-0. That's the recipe for winning that game.
That's how you see it happening?
That's all. That's just the recipe, Grant. I didn't say
okay.
that it was going to happen. But But it is similar to sometimes Bill Michaels' recipes on winning the game.
Yeah.
Get up by 10 and take over the second half. That's the recipe. And I think just about everybody understands that. So I like that. I like that.
Well, you're right, Eric. For all the talk we've had on Bill's show, the Packers still haven't played a complete game. And I sometimes wonder, we're so in our bubble about, how well our teams are playing. It's like, well, what do you want? You want them to score every time they have the ball and stop the opposition every time they have the ball? Like, is that what represents a complete game?
I don't think it's realistic. It's realistic in today's NFL.
Of course not.
We talked about it earlier this week. Just about any team can win on any given day, right?
Yes. And I'll
and where it is, where are you at in the season? How are you playing within the season?
Yeah, what happened last Sunday?
Like
That's going to instruct what we're saying. What happened 4 days ago on Sunday? That's how you're going to feel about your coach and about your team.
Right. And I think the Packers can totally beat Denver. I know nothing about Denver other than their record. They got a good head coach, and apparently they have a really good defense. But what does that really mean?
Yeah.
I don't really think it means crap.
Well, and we have two, and Nagler pointed this out earlier. I'll play this audio for you when we come back. There are 2 1 seeds this week, or 2 teams vying for the 1 seed between the Patriots and the Broncos, both at home this weekend and both underdogs. That's just kind of the way the NFL has been. We'll take a 3-minute break. I'll give you that audio from Nagler on the other side. Be right back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's like you're
Yeah, a
waiting
little
to
bit.
see if this
A
is
little bit.
indeed the
I
trend
agree.
and they've fixed it. Because if they fix those things and those things are not going to rear their ugly head, this is an incredibly formidable team as they ascend going towards the postseason.
Bill, it's so funny you say that because I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine who is not a Packers fan, is actually a Saints fan. And he was saying, because obviously online you see people complaining and picking things apart. And he's like, do Packers fans understand how good their team is? And I said, when you're living it down by down, week by week, game by game, you find everything that's wrong. But if you do kind of detach yourself from the minutia and pull back, man, especially this year in the NFL, every team has issues. Every team has a problem. Man, there are 2 teams this week with 10-game winning streaks that are home underdogs. Denver being one of them.
Right.
Like, there's no perfect team. There's no juggernaut. So, yeah, if you pull back at the Packers in totality, they're a really good football team, and they are a problem for anybody they face. Now, you got a bad week, you get a bad moment. Like, you're talking about the penalty situation. They have gone the right direction there. But to your point, I keep waiting for, there's a bunch of false starts or pre-snap or, illegal formation things that were just killing them early in the season. But for the most part, they've done a really good job of eliminating that stuff. And that has helped, along with some of the changes on the offensive line, as far as being able to stay ahead of the sticks and take it to these defenses.
It's a great point by Aaron Nagler, and one that I've tried to articulate a bunch. In fact, I think I led the show with this or talked about this in the first segment, maybe Tuesday. Yeah, I think it was following Monday Night Football where I'm like, occasionally watch another team, watch other games because we're so insulated in our little world and we're like, they can't, get lined up right and they're grabbing on offense and Jordan Love and this. It's like, all right, hold on. Yes, they're not perfect because no team is perfect, but it's hard to realize when we're in our bubble. Watch other games, watch other teams. They're all fighting and nitpicking over all the same stuff. Mike Clemens is going to join us in about 6 or 7 minutes. That audio with Nagler was from the Bill Michaels show, hour number 3 earlier today. You can go find it. I love them as a duo. It doesn't happen often. An unlikely duo, I'll say that, but they're really good together. Something else that happened on Bill's show, I cut the audio because I found this very funny. So one of my favorite sports radio shows, I listen to a bunch of them, different markets around the country and stuff. I'm a Felger and Maz listener, and Tyler's always on the live stream. We always talk about this. And they will occasionally have a segment or they will point out and replay segments where it's clear how to tell when the hosts aren't listening to each other. When they're talking to each other, but one is not hearing. Can I present 2 minutes of audio from Bill's show earlier today during Buy or Sell, where I am clearly not listening to what Bill is saying. He is clearly not listening to what I'm saying. At one point, he's talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or I'm talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, and it's not clocking with either one of us. So get a load of this.
So that's where his joy is gone.
I would agree with all of that. If they were winning, maybe it'd be different. You can get past the nickel and dime stuff. By the way, if we're quoting Major League, my favorite line from that movie is when it's Charlie Behringer, right, who plays Jake Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
When he says, "Yeah, we got uniforms and everything. It's really great." When they ask, "You still have a team?" Yeah, we got uniforms and everything.
Buy or sell.
I want to ask you about the Buccaneers. They started 6-2, and they've fallen to 7-6 after losing 4 of their last 5. In our preseason predictions, I had the Bucs in the NFC Championship game, and early this year they looked like a contender. Buy or sell. The first 2 months weren't a mirage. If they get all their guys healthy down the stretch, they could beat anybody and totally go on a run.
By the way, I was trying to think, and I completely somewhat missed your question, but it wasn't Charlie Behringer. Charlie Behringer is the one we think of here in the States. Tom Behringer, right?
Tom Behringer.
I agreed so quickly because I just you said it with such confidence. I'm like, yeah, and I'm sitting there thinking, Tom Behringer. And all I heard was somebody could go on a run, and I went, no, it's Tom Behringer, I think.
I was going to say, when you said I missed your question, it's like, please tell me you were thinking about Major League.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the Bucs? They've fallen on hard times, but if they get healthy, buy or sell, they could go on a run.
I do, only for the fact that they can shoot the lights out. They figured out how to shoot. They just can't stop teams from scoring. As much as they've sold out from the 3-point arc, they've got to sell out defensively and got to get better in that sense. So, yeah, I do believe they could go on a run. I believe you get Giannis back. I believe things can trend in the right direction, but they have figured out ways to score and keep things close. They just haven't figured out ways to win. They don't have that extra to win. So, yes, I think they can go on a run. I don't know how big of a run it's going to. It seems like, you know what, for a team that is faltering, there's a lot of positive things coming out of that team and out of that locker room right now. So, yeah, I think they could go on a run. I think they could do that.
Baker Mayfield seems like the type of guy to maybe spark things again. You know what I mean? Whereas like with Jalen Hurts and those Eagles.
Oh, wait a minute. We're talking about I thought we were talking about Bucks basketball.
No, the Bucks, the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm sorry.
Oh.
And I was reading about Tom Berenger because I didn't know if he was still alive.
Holy crap.
So I listened
this
to your
segment
whole
completely gone right into the crapper.
Oh, my God.
You said Bucks. I'm thinking Bucks basketball. I'm like, yeah, they figured out how to score from the 3-point line. And then you said, wait a minute. You started talking football. And I'm like, where the hell's the 3-point line on a football field?
And I was listening, but I was not hearing because I thought Tom Berenger was dead. And I'm like, is he still?
Oh, my God.
Who's the guy from Saving Private Ryan who was an alcoholic? Was that Tom Sizemore? I was getting the
I
two.
have no idea now. God.
You know what? Let's just skip it. Let's go straight to the next
Sounds like
one.
an AA meeting.
We never talked about
Buy
this.
or sell.
That's some high-level radio earlier today. I talked about Tampa Bay. Bill did not notice. He talked about Milwaukee. I did not notice. That's, high-level radio from Buy or Sell earlier today. Mike Clemens, speaking of high-level radio, we'll break down the Packers with him. I just got the email, so he should be calling at any moment now. Coordinators, players speaking earlier today and yesterday, so we'll get the lowdown and we'll preview the Broncos with Mike coming up next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Nine of the 11 games, they've come back in the fourth quarter. And so I think that obviously deservingly so, he gets a ton of credit for that. But I also think that just when you combine that with the rest of the guys that he has on his offense, obviously Sean does a hell of a job calling plays. He has for a really long time. And then the defense and special teams. I mean, it's just a really good football team.
That's Matt LaFleur. Was that yesterday? All the days start to run together. That might have been Tuesday. Not important. The question was, how is Bo Nix able to win all these games and be on a contender when so many young quarterbacks struggle to do it? And LaFleur made sure he paid tribute and said, hey, there's a lot of things that Bo Nix is great at. He's a great quarterback, but really it's a product of the team and the roster and the coach. A lot of compliments being exchanged both ways. These are two teams that understand that they're about to play a really good team coming up on Sunday. Mike Clemens is here. Thanks to Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable. You can make your reservation today. They're less than a mile from Lambeau Field. BayMotelGreenBay.com. And don't forget about the family restaurant there as well. So you get a nice, warm, home-cooked meal before you go out and tackle the elements if you're going out into the cold to see a Packer game or to do whatever else you do when you're in Green Bay. Mike Clemens is here. Mike, there's a lot of respect, it would seem, from the Packers and everybody talking about this Broncos team. This is good on good. These are two very good teams.
A lot of people talking about this NFL season of 2025 and all the parity.
Mm-hmm.
And, I tend to hear things like that and say, okay, you say that every year. That's not unique.
Yeah.
There are so many more national guys, though, that are saying it. Because, for me, that's what it feels like. Because a year ago at this time, it's like, okay, the Eagles are the team to beat. Who's the team to beat in the NFL this year?
So, what's
Patriots?
funny?
The Broncos?
Well, maybe it might just be the team with home field advantage. It's funny you say that we always talk about parity because I think you're right. The difference might be this year, especially in the AFC, the good teams just aren't the ones with the elite quarterbacks, right? Mahomes and Allen and Lamar all down. There's parity every year. It feels a little different maybe this year because all of these elite quarterbacks and their teams seem to be struggling.
Well, one thing's for sure, a lot of the national guys' predictions in August of who's going to be in Super Bowl 60 are all crap now, right? I mean, because you've got the Rams with a Super Bowl head coach and a Super Bowl quarterback with the experience to get you through, and you wonder if the Denver Broncos, let's not forget, it was just a couple of years ago that Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars went to the AFC Championship game because they had a great defense. And a young quarterback.
Yep.
And have I just described, the Denver Broncos with, this outstanding defense and 55 sacks, but they got Bo Nix for a quarterback. So therefore, Denver's not really getting much attention like you think they would. Or the same thing with the Patriots.
Or even the Texans, right? And I know they've had a weird year and their quarterback was hurt, but CJ Stroud's not playing amazing. He had a great rookie year, but that's kind of the same concept, right? Can the offense and the quarterback just be good enough? And that defense is the balls.
Nobody wants to play the Texans right now. As a matter of fact, the Broncos almost lost to them because they had some problems on special teams. And Darren Rizzi was Sean Payton's special teams coordinator down in New Orleans and had a great run there. Packers tried to get him, and he wanted too much money. Now he's with his old coach in Denver. He almost, they were calling for his job because they had a muff punt in the game, a blocked field goal early in the game against a tough Texans team. And yet then they've got their punt returner from last week and end up being named AFC Special Teams Player of the Week because of a 48-yard punt return. Mims is his name. Now, say injury-wise, I don't think that the Broncos have any real serious injuries or concerns. The Packers, again, have got a dozen players that are limited. Savion Williams has been your kick returner, and they've used on jet sweeps. It looks like he might be eligible to play this week. He's been limited. Matthew Golden at wide receiver. It turns out that your first round pick is not having a Justin Jefferson kind of start to his career, and that you don't have that speed out there. But the fact that you got Jaden Reed back, the fact that Christian Watson has come back as full strength as he is and got, extra bump in his paycheck before he even hit the field, I think they think, hey, this is who we got right now. Let's see if we can win with that. Let's see if we can get Dontavian Wicks on there. So the major concern, and people keep on asking me, about Lloyd, right? The running back.
Yep.
Who cares?
I kind of feel the same way. Yeah.
And the window's closing on his 21 days, and whatever. Emmanuel Wilson's been doing a good job for you. Chris Brooks, is a backup running back. But the real concern is Josh Jacobs. So Josh Jacobs injured his knee against the Giants at MetLife. He was okay getting through the Lions and Bears game, but this knee keeps swelling on him. Now they're talking about the fluids. This Monday after the Bears game, he had an MRI, and he's still day-to-day and talked about that to us about an hour ago.
Like I told y'all last week, I'm like, I still feel it. It's not something that's just been gone away. It's still here. It's just that I'm playing with it, and so even coming into the game, like it still was some swelling in there, but it's just playing through it. It's just something that it's gonna be there, but structurally nothing is wrong. So you're not looking at it in the sense of like, okay, if I go out there, am I gonna get hurt or make it worse? It's just you got to play through the pain, and that's a reality of a lot of people in this league and at this time of the year. So it just is what it is.
There's nothing you can do about it.
The only thing I can really do is rest, and I don't really have that time to rest. So it is what it is.
Mike, we talked about this last couple of weeks with Josh Jacobs, talking about his injury, and just that's a part of being a high-level football player is knowing that something's not going to feel 100% right and playing through it. So if there's a player on this roster who I'm like, yeah, that guy's equipped to deal with something that feels not quite right or feels that it's a little bit banged up, I guess it would be Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, and so he did not practice again today, but did talk to us, and that was appreciated. His, that 21-yard burst that he had on the right-hand side toward the north end zone the other night was great. It was special. I mean, he gets through 5 guys and breaks through and gets to the second level and gets them down. Then he scores the touchdown. And I thought this was interesting. You know how good Josh Jacobs has been from within the 5-yard line to find the end zone?
Yeah.
Mostly effort. In his touchdown against the Bears, he goes to the line. He's grabbing the ball. He's hanging on tight. And then as he runs into 320 pounds of Chicago Bears nose tackle, he twists and turns. And now for 1 second, his back is to the end zone. Like instead of falling forward or churning with your legs, he twists and turns and he pushes. Almost like if you're a kid and you're pushing off some bully, or trying to keep the door closed, he pushes. And so I talked to him about that. Is that like leverage, or why do you do that?
Is that easier for your legs to push? Because instead of going forward, you're now using the ground as leverage.
No, so what it is right, you can feel the momentum. So like if I'm pushing and there's a guy on my left side, I can feel where the weight is coming from. So when I went to spin, it's because I know the weight is not on that side. So it's like, okay, if I can fall in this way, even if he pushes me from the left, he's going to fall with me and he's going to push me in. So it's just one of those levers. It's just like real levers.
So you feel that in your back?
Yeah, you feel it everywhere. Yeah. No doubt, for sure.
It's real situational. And LaFleur was asked, I think it was maybe in Monday's presser, like, how do you chalk up, Josh Jacobs going and getting you that touchdown or that 3rd and short? And he basically said, good players go out and make those plays. And sometimes on 3rd down, 4th down, red zone, you just need a guy to go get you a yard. And while Josh Jacobs, fantasy football stats or his counting stats aren't impressive, I still trust him as much as I'd trust anybody. We need a yard, go get it. You need to get into the end zone. This is a huge sequence, go get it. He's been so good at that.
So for whatever reason, it looks like the Packers' offensive line is playing better now than before all season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they had injuries during camp. Elton Jenkins had, a back issue. Zach Tom, had an oblique problem, and all kinds of problems, especially during the Browns game. He had to leave the Browns game. So I think Banks, Zach Tom, these guys overall, they're healthier now. And Sean Ryan has done a really nice job of picking it up at center after Elton Jenkins, had his fracture done for the season. So I talked to him. I said, "There's this play against the Bears the other night where Sean Ryan, your center, drifts to the left and helps out Aaron Banks on the left-hand side, and 53 Edwards comes. The big linebacker comes right up the middle, and 30 Chris Brooks, your number third string running back, gives a great block on him. I mean, it's like he hit a light post. Just bam, it took him out, and Jordan was able to plant his feet and throw his pass over the middle for a big gain. So I talked to Sean Ryan about, so when you're going against this Broncos defensive front, you're going to need help from guys like Chris Brooks and the tight ends in pass protection. And, how does Denver have 55 quarterback sacks this year?
Effort, man. They got high effort. They're real good, real active across the board. Yeah, there's high effort and they're good. Call a spade a spade. They're good players. So matching their energy, I think, is going to be at least half the battle.
You had to play against Chicago, where you went to the left and you're helping out Banks, and 53 came right in over the middle, and Chris Brooks took him out. And it made me think, it's not just you five, exactly. But you're bringing in Darian as a sixth man, your tight ends. That pass protection unit gets a little bigger, perhaps against this Broncos team, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, shoot, we got to talk to tight ends. We non-verbally communicate to everybody. So I think just getting everybody on the same page is what makes our protection successful and effective.
Mike Clemens is here. Thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay. And the quarterback's a big part of that, right? We talk about this back foot, back shoulder throw. A big part of that is if you can drift backwards and just buy an extra half second or a second with the pressure bearing down to deliver the ball, right? You help out your O-line, right? It's not just the five guys on the O-line. It's tight ends, like you said, Chris Brooks, maybe in pass pro, and then the quarterback doing these little things in the pocket too.
When you're watching Packer games, you hear now reporting number 70, offensive tackle Darian Kennard as an eligible receiver. They're bringing in that sixth offensive man. Now, Stenovich told me, like a month ago, ever since Tucker Kraft went down, we're bringing that guy as a blocker because, Luke Musgrave, not so much a blocker. I asked LaFleur about that. There's a report in Pro Football Focus this morning that says teams now bringing in a sixth offensive lineman is up like 7%. 7% of the plays on offense, they're bringing in the jumbo package. The Lions are doing it. Of course, Sam Laporta, their tight end, is down. I asked LaFleur if he's noticed that in the league.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we see usually in the crossover games every week. That personnel grouping, whether it's 12, whether it's 11, it could be 22, 13T, just that extra tackle. And I think it's kind of a little bit the evolution of the tight end position in regards to a lot of these guys that are coming into this league are coming in as more receiver type, and you got to train them to get them where you want them to go as far as a blocker. And plus it's dependent upon what type of team you're playing in terms of the personnel they have on the edge. I mean, sometimes those are some just not the best of matchups. So you got to combat that somehow, some way. And a lot of times it's with that extra tackle.
Interesting comment from LaFleur. They're basically saying, well, yeah, now we can't trust tight ends to block like we used to be able to, because now they're way often more receivers. So this is a little bit of an adjustment to that. I'd never thought of it that way. That's interesting.
These tight ends, or these teams, they want the next Travis Kelce. They want the next receiving tight end. They're not necessarily looking for the next best blocking tight end. So it's like, we could teach a guy to block. We can't teach him how to catch. So that's what they're, that's why Luke Musgrave goes in the second round. Tucker Kraft showed them I can catch the ball, showed them I can move with the football, besides be a good blocker. And that's why he became like, the next George Kittle in this league. By the way, the 49ers hardly bring in that sixth man. Why? Because George Kittle is healthy right now. Back in the day, Ted Thompson interviewed 8 guys for the head coaching position. One was Brad Childress. He didn't make it to Green Bay because the airport was fogged in, and the Vikings said they really wanted him, so they kept him. And he was supposed to talk to Sean Payton, who is from the Dallas Cowboys, but he really liked the interview with this guy he had from the Saints and the 49ers named Mike McCarthy, and that's who got the job. Sean Payton was ticked off about that and went to the Saints, and he actually took Drew Brees and the Saints to a Super Bowl 1 year earlier than McCarthy did. LaFleur did not know all that. He did not know that Sean Payton interviewed for this job once upon a time. He was asked, how well do you know the Broncos head coach Sean Payton?
He's a guy that I totally respect. I've gotten to know him the longer I've been in the game. He's done a hell of a job. Just look at his track record, obviously winning the Super Bowl in New Orleans, but I think it goes even before that. He's one of the best offensive minds in the game of football and has been for a really long time. So he's a hell of a storyteller too. So, he is entertaining to be around. So I got a chance to talk to him a little bit last year when we went out and practiced versus them and spent some time with them at some of these, whether it's the owners meetings or whatnot. And, a guy that I just have a ton of respect for.
He does tell stories at the podium. And you told us on Tuesday, take guys out and just talk these long dinners. And obviously he was on
5
TV as well.
hours.
Yeah, 5-hour dinner. Let's have a 5-hour dinner at the Super Bowl, Mike. We'll sit there so long we need to eat twice. How does that sound? 5-hour
took
dinner.
A bunch of guys out to 5 hours to break down why Russell Wilson was a knucklehead and why he wanted to move on.
Just to make sure,
that's
just to make
awesome.
sure that we got it clearly. But Sean Payton, I was listening to a little bit of the audio that you sent, put a lot of emphasis on the crowd noise. That's a big part of their success, right? Talked about some other interesting parts of this matchup as well.
The good ones do that. They want to talk about everything: the environment, the atmosphere, the turf, the referees. They're into all of that stuff. And then you ask them about Micah Parsons and how do you deal with it? Watching the Bears-Packers game again, it's amazing how Micah never lowers his shoulder into guys. He does this all with his hands. He's just got the strongest arms ever to deal with 320-pound offensive linemen. Here's Sean Payton on what he sees from number one from the Packers.
As a player, he's extremely explosive. He's got unique bend and balance for someone at that position. So he's a handful. I mean, he's a rare type player.
He can win so quickly, Mike. So many of these highlights, you were comparing him to Reggie, the way Reggie would throw his weight around and push. Micah Parsons will take one step and use a hand almost as a guide, and he'll just stutter step, almost like a running back would do a jump cut, and he'll be past the tackle before the tackle even has a chance to adjust. Speed and the bend. Yeah, for sure.
It's just amazing leverage. I mean, he somehow grabs a guy that might be 4 inches taller than him and weigh 40 to 50 pounds more. And, maybe it's kind of a martial arts move, but I mean, he knows right where to grab these guys and how to throw them aside or get them back on one of their back feet and then get under them, past them, around them. Or like Peyton said, the way he can bend and turn and not lose his own balance. And the next thing you know, boom, he's back there in your backfield and he's chasing your quarterback.
Well, we look forward to catching up tomorrow in the final hour of Bill's show. And this will be you get a couple of these a year, right? Awesome outdoor venue, 2 high-level teams, 2 successful coaches, 2 iconic franchises with some history. This should be great, Mike.
You know what Josh Jacobs said?
What's that?
The key to playing at Mile High is, because he did it obviously a lot of times with the Raiders, is getting a second wind. He said, when you warm up, just go all out, break sweat, get as much worked up as you can, and lose your breath. And then after that, it seems like your lungs adjust to the thin air better that way. Isn't that interesting?
I'll remember that next time I'm in Colorado as well. Do some wind sprints in the airport hallway. Well, Mike, I got to run. We'll talk tomorrow.
Thanks, Grant. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, Mike. Thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay as well. We'll come back. I got to take a break. Otherwise, we're going to jack everything up. Last segment next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Last minute or so here. Thanks to Kai Chevytown presenting the show. It's either full inventory, ChevytownUSA.com, BYC Kai's for the best buys. Tomorrow, nothing lined up, so we'll have plenty of time to chat on the phones. Packers, Broncos. I think the Sean Payton, Matt LaFleur angle of this game has maybe been underserved a bit. I think the first quarter is going to do so much to set up this game because it's going to decide which pass rush is going to have carte blanche to go get after it, which team's going to jump out to take the lead after those scripted plays. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. No Thorson and Halpern tonight. Ebo under the weather, so that'll be back next week at Monks and Sun Prairie. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Never miss a Friday show.